calling this episode Merry Krampus Night.
That's right. I forgot we were saying this for Krampus night or for pre-Boxing Day.
Pre-Boxing Day. Because, dude, next a week from tomorrow is Christmas Eve.
Yeah, Christmas is really close. It's coming up.
That's crazy. I ordered my last Christmas present today because I realized that I had to so that I could get it here in time because it snuck up on me, and I've been crocheting hats because those are stocking stuffers for the kiddos.
Hey, hats are comfortable, especially like
They are.
knit, or not knit, but like crocheted, whatever.
Yeah. So
Yarn.
I have to look up how to make the little poof ball. But hey, we didn't do our introduction. Welcome to the Tangent Podcast, where we most certainly will get off and start off topic, but that's just all part of the journey. This is our season 1 finale.
Yeah.
Technically speaking.
The last episode of 2022.
Yep. And then we're going to take a couple weeks off.
And we'll be back with season 2, and season 2 is exciting. I'm excited.
In January, there are a lot of exciting things in season 2. I'm excited. I'm excited for 2023 and what it means for this podcast, what it means for us personally, what it means for the realm of Logres conglomerate
I was just
in general.
I was thinking about this earlier. I was like, it's not really even season 2 for the podcast. It's like season 2 for realm of Logres.
Right.
Loggers.
Right. Loggers.
Because we're not just like making a change for the podcast or making a change.
Hey, so let's talk about the coming year and goals and hopes, and maybe we'll make an announcement by the end of this episode about
some of our plans for 2023 in terms of like what we're doing with the brand.
I think we should. I think it would be exciting to listen to, and we've decided that we are already going to do it.
Yeah, true. We already had that conversation of like how we're going to do this.
Yeah. So, but before we get into that, I wanted to start a little bit with where we not left off last episode, because we left off. We touched about goals. Yeah. So I was wondering if you had. We talked about body goals and things like that, but just general, like, do you have any general goals? What are you looking, Anthony, to accomplish in 2023?
Right. Well, to reiterate, because might as well, my body goal for 2023 was to get back up to 250 pounds, or to get to 250 pounds. I haven't been that heavy. The heaviest I think I've been, I don't remember what I said, but the heaviest I think I've been was somewhere north of 2020. Or 220, 2020, 220. 2020, I was the opposite of heavy. I lost a lot of weight. But yeah, it's like my
I think most of us did.
Yeah. Or regained the weight that we didn't want to gain. That's my physical fitness goal, my physical health goal. I've got just some other stuff lined up for 2023 that it's going to be talking about some of the stuff for Realm of Logres, so I'm just going to talk about it.
Go. Do it. Do it up.
Building a website. It's going to be cool. I have a couple plans. There was something that I've started working on for myself on my own, of just like a website that you can log onto and just track certain things. So like your workouts, your fitness schedule, your meals. I'm gonna try to get that done. That might be done early 2023. The other part of the Logres podcast, the Logres website, is we're gonna be doing narrative stuff. More specifically, you are gonna be doing narrative stuff, and I'm going to be building the framework to present that to people.
Right. So basically, one of the things that. Yeah, I guess we have to now talk about it. So one of the things that we're gonna do is we're gonna launch a Patreon starting when we go live in January. I think, what was it, third week in January will be our first day of the stream. So I'll have the Patreon up and ready to go on the day that we stream the first episode of season 2.
I think we're going to be taking really the time off from like from streaming, from doing all of like this kind of stuff.
Mm-hmm.
I won't have to worry about doing like any editing and stuff for that amount of time, and actually can probably focus a bit more, not too much, but focus more on getting a lot of that stuff done and finished and live for the website. So when we come back in 2020, or 2023, all of that stuff is going to be live.
Yeah, and so we talked about three tiers. One of which will just be a $3 a month tier on Patreon, which will just be the gaining of our sincerest thanks and gratitude. I think we could find a way to honor the Patreons.
Didn't we say that was going to be the tier that had access to some of the stories too? We were going to have some of the stories.
Nope.
Or was it the second one?
The $3 tier was going to be our sincerest thanks and gratitude, as well as being able to get access to the recording of our podcast a day early. We're going to change our publishing schedule, not so much our recording schedule and our live stream on Twitch schedule, but we'll be changing some of our publishing schedule that we'll talk about it, set those dates, those days of the week, and then we'll launch it. But all of our patrons, whether they're at the lowest or the highest, you'll get access early to episodes, to the pre-recordings. Then for the $10 a month has to do with one of my goals. So I don't think I talked about this.
Before you get into it, we do have a lot of this stuff that we are like kind of set in stone or planning, but it's still this is all still to be determined.
Firmly set in jello.
Firmly set in jello. Just in case if anything's different, you're like, oh,
right.
What the hell you said this?
Right. Prices could be different and things like that. But probably the second tier. My goal was to. I don't think we talked about this on mic last week, but we did talk about it, where I said that I stumbled upon an interview with George R.R. Martin and Stephen King. And it was a great interview because George R.R.
the narrative world.
Yeah, George R.R. Martin was basically asking Stephen King, like, how do you do it? How do you, like, he's like, I sit down, this is George Martin talking, he's like, I sit down for 6 months and I barely get out 4 chapters. And in that same amount of time, you've published 3 books, and Stephen King said something astounding. He said, well, I write 6 pages a day. Mm-hmm. That's what he does. And he works those 6 pages that day until they're not perfect, but the way he wants them, which I think is phenomenal. I can't believe I never thought about that before, is instead of like writing it and going back and editing, because sometimes, listen, I've gone back and edited multiple books. I've got those 3 books of poetry that I self-published. I have a memoir that is self-published. After I finished writing like the manuscript and then going back and rereading it, I could, like, every time I reread something I've written, I can rewrite it. Mm-hmm. So the more I read it, the more and more it changes, not necessarily because it needed it, but because I'm anal like that. And so the idea of saying I'm only going to write this amount of pages today, but I'm going to work that amount of pages until they're perfect, until they're exactly what I want them to be. And then I'm not going to look at it. And then tomorrow I'm going to move on to the next set of pages. And then when all is said and done, give it to someone else to proofread for the grammar. And then he's, by the end of 3 months, as Stephen King said, writing 6 pages a day, you have a book. Mm. I'm not Stephen King, nor would I ever claim. I'm not a big fan of the horror genre in books, so I haven't read a lot of Stephen King. I have a couple of his like fantasy books that are on my list that I would love to get into because he's a phenomenal writer.
Yeah, it's like more thriller-esque kind of books.
Yeah. But I've set the goal that I want to, Monday through Friday at least, mm-hmm. and anything that happens on the weekend will just be bonus. But Monday through Friday, I want to write 4 pages a day on this book that I have some of it started. I'm currently going through and editing what I have written so that starting in January, I can do my 4 pages a day. Now, at the second patron level, this goes into the website that you're building.
Right.
You're going to have early access as I finish chapters of the book. They're going to be on. So I already have 3 chapters done from what was previous. That's what I'm reworking. So hopefully when the website goes live, you'll have early access to the first 3 chapters as I'm continuously writing the 4 pages, whatever. And then hopefully by halfway through the year, because I don't need to write a 300-page book. Hopefully by the end of the year, I will have a book ready for publish.
The other thing I was thinking that you were talking about, you do have all those poetry books. We can just also put those up there and have that be as part of the second tier.
Right. Well, I have those poetry books. I have a unpublished 4th book called Secrets After Midnight that I
told me about that.
never published. I never finished adding to it. And I would say it is the most hopeful and uplifting of all of the books that I wrote.
Kind of bleak. The first 2.
No, Karen's daughter was asking me. She's 10 at the time of us recording this. She asked me about some of the. She's like, "Are you a writer?" I'm like, "Yeah, kind of. I write a lot. I published, whatever." And she's like, "Do you have any of your books?" And I'm like, "They are not age appropriate." She's like, "Why not?" I'm like, "Well," so I had to explain. I'm like, how like sometimes like there's some shows that your mom watches on TV that you can't necessarily watch.
Right.
But then there's other things that we can all watch together. I was like, age appropriate. I would say my first book, definitely not age appropriate. Funerals and Epitaphs probably is a little bit more. That's where I have published the poem that I wrote for our Grandma Garino, the day that the day that I got the phone call that she passed away. So that's kind of really cool. In there, it's called Walk Me Down. It's one of my favorite ones, but we can definitely put some of these on there too. So that's going to be our second patron tier, and then our third tier is going to be a merch tier. So basically, if you are subscribed at that level, you get access to everything below it, obviously. And then every 3 months at the highest tier, you're gonna get. We've been wanting to do merch forever. We've mentioned it.
Excuse to make clothing.
Yeah, we've mentioned it all the time. We've mentioned all the eyes are ones. What is up, my guys? It's Donnie G.
I think only 2 of those ideas will actually make it to
absolutely. But we have a whole mercher section in our shared notebook about the t-shirts and stuff, and maybe mugs. I would like a nice mug. And I told you my goal. I sent it to you, right? So right now I'm drinking a little bit of coffee.
Oh, that's right. I forgot you were putting it in the coffee.
Right, a little bit of coffee with some Jameson whiskey. Jameson whiskey is my choice. It's not cheap, but it's not bank breaking. Right? So I sent you a picture while I was at the liquor store of this, still under $100, but this nice imported Japanese whiskey. My goal for next year is when we record season 2 finale, I would like to be in a place where where I can purchase that bottle
and not have to think about it. I'd be like,
and not have to feel bad about it, and maybe drink it.
Write it off on your taxes as a business expense.
Well, maybe not that, but not have to do mental gymnastics, and maybe drink it from a Tangent Podcast mug.
Maybe.
I think our logo on a mug
a different
would be great.
Realm of Logres merchandise mug that says something stupid on it. And it might even just be a mug that literally says something stupid. There is a chance.
Or our usual sound check, say something. Something. No. So there'll be a merch tier and maybe other tiers as things go on. Listen, we want to do this. We want to keep creating content, but we have to have money.
Yeah, I mean,
in order to justify us pouring more time into it. Right. And there's other things that we've talked about that we want to do with the umbrella, not just with the Tangents podcast, but with the umbrella corporation, for lack of a better word, of Realm of Logres.
The Umbrella Corporation? I didn't realize this is a Resident Evil game.
Yeah. There's things that we want to do that like we can't justify putting more time into and like eating. Like you got to eat, I got to eat. I'm already moving more dog food in the morning than I want to.
Yeah, this is like our side pet project that, you know, just want to put some good out in the world, you know?
Put some good out in the world.
Like, yes. People happy. That would be okay with me. And yeah,
so do you have any
fun to build and
grow. Do you have any other so this episode, the reason why we're talking about this, it's not just a sales pitch. One of the things that
it's almost like a New Year's resolution, right? But like
so
better.
My dad and my godfather Mike Lynch and some other guys that my dad has grown up with and been through young adulthood with, they generally do this thing where they go away for like either a weekend, sometimes a week, sometimes they'll just like go out to dinner one night, generally speaking somewhere in January of whatever year it is, and they'll celebrate the accomplishments of the previous year, and then they'll talk about not New Year's resolutions but goals, things that they're looking forward to in the new year. And I've always liked that. And that's kind of what this episode is. So before we get into, because I want to talk about a little bit too, but maybe on the back end of this episode, I want to talk about things this past year to celebrate. But do you have any other personal goals, maybe that don't have to do with this business venture or anything else, just personal goals that you want to set and that you're going to try to see for yourself for this year?
It would be cool, and because again, we didn't ever really do the last tri-weekly check-in for the mind. What I've been trying to do and what I've been doing is that sometimes at night, or every Saturday night, I've usually been going really Sunday morning, but like 2 a.m. Sunday morning. I've been taking my dog to the beach and just going out and just like sitting on the jetties and just meditating. And that has been really cool and something that I want to continue to do and do consistently, because there is a dog beach near me that I can take my dog to. And I don't have to worry about it being crowded or busy because it's like winter and it's late at night.
Right.
And so yeah, so I can go and relax and sit out in the beach and meditate. And I want to do more of that. I want that to be something that I do more consistently, weekly. As far as other goals, for things to do, I have some things that I've been doing for like, you know, for work and stuff. But then, you know, everyone has their side projects, their pet projects. This is one of them. Another one is I've been slowly in the process of like building a game. And that's been fun. It's been really just coming up with an outline and a plan of stuff that I would do, but it would be cool to actually put that into something substantial and something that's real and something that other people can play. And I think that's definitely very doable as like a side project thing to work on while I'm, you know, actually making enough money to get food and stuff. That's
absolutely
good. That kind of stuff is good. But yeah, as far as like personal stuff, I think that probably sums it up pretty well.
Anyway, so like for my stuff, I don't know if I mentioned it before, but in the last episode as kind of a body goal, I think I talked more about mastery of my martial skills and things like that. And there's some things that have to do with that go into that. And I think that there's nothing more dangerous to a martial art, especially a traditional martial art, but I'd say all combat sports, is someone in their mid-20s to mid-30s, like myself, with the amount of time in as me, there's a lot of room for arrogance in there, and a lot of thought of, I know everything. So there's another reason why I want to get back under someone. That's why training with my Bagua instructor, Sifu Martin, has been so good, because it's been keeping me under someone. Even especially now that I'm not with Kiyoshi, but at the same time, I'll just say it, it's a big goal. By the end of 2023, I want students. I want to either be teaching in a rented location.
Yeah, you touched upon this last week.
Yeah. And or I want to be teaching virtually or one-on-one, just because I think that true mastery of a skill involves teaching it and passing it on to another human. And there's different things that you learn physically about yourself and how you can do things on your own by having to communicate to someone else to bring them up to a certain skill level.
Yeah.
So
I
by
think
the end of 20,
like that arrogance thing tends to, I mean, I guess it could blow up more sometimes when you have students, but I feel like it's easier to avoid when you don't have students, or it's easier to avoid when you do have students.
Right.
Because you kind of have that like check and balance of like, there's no better way of learning that you're doing something wrong than when you're teaching someone and they ask like one of those really thought-provoking questions, and you have to stop and think for a second and be like, yeah. let me just completely reconstruct or deconstruct the thing that I've been training in for 20 years and try to answer this really obscure question that you asked me.
Or you have the ability to do something and the youth and athleticism to do it, but then when you're trying to get them to do it, it's completely wrong, and you can't figure out why they're doing it wrong and why they can't just do it, because you can just do it. And so that humility thing comes into play, and a lot of that thought process came from me watching some of my martial peers and acquaintances, not guys that I know well, but they're my martial peers in the sense of we've had the same amount of time in, we're around the same age, post some videos and things like that, and there's just a lot of arrogance that is just distasteful, especially within the traditional martial arts and within anything that you're teaching. So I want to do things and be about things that that foster humility in me, as well as just give me that sense of giving. I want to give the things that have been given to me. The other thing that I have, and I actually have it, you'll like this a lot.
Okay, I'm ready.
I think over the last couple years, in all of my different moves, I have sold/donated most of the library that I had compiled over the years. So for the first time ever, it's still going to be a feat because I have it in a spreadsheet in front of me right now. I'm in a place where it's doable that by the end of 2023, I want to have read all of the books in my library that I have not already read. Sorry. So I have lots of books in this library that I have bought. You can see behind me.
When you say your library, do you mean like specifically all of those books that are right there behind you?
Absolutely, yes.
Okay.
This is what's in this. This is a thing that goes all the way down. This is what is left of my library. So, like right back here, there's a trilogy of the High Republic Star Wars books, starting with Light of the Jedi, Rising Storm, Fallen Star. I've only read the first one of those, but I own the other one because they came out. I have a couple books in some series that I have, and then I have a couple books that I've started to read. So I have in front of me a list of books. There are 3 of them that are started to be read. So I'm obviously going to start there.
Yeah.
Nah,
screw it. Go to the other ones.
And then there's
do those ones last.
32 books.
Oh, God. Okay. Well, okay. You said by the end of the year, so that's not
yes. Now some of them are like, there's this one book that I picked up just because the cover is pretty. It's called The Order of the Pure Moon.
Book by the cover, Victor.
Oh. That's the only thing you should judge by its cover. But it's called The Order of the Pure Moon Reflected on Water.
Okay.
And the cover of it is just this beautiful, like, ink painting. But it's like this big. And then, like, I have Star Wars A New Hope as if it was written by William Shakespeare. So it's like written like
I've read all of those. Those are really good.
So I have that. I haven't read it. I own it. So like I have a few thinner books like that, but then like I own the Silmarillion that I've never read. I have a couple.
Say about the Shakespeare one.
Mm-hmm.
One of the things that I love about those books is how they do R2D2. Once you read it, you'll start to understand. But everyone who is like, oh, what are those books? And if you have any interest in Star Wars and you think that Shakespeare is an interesting thing to read, yes, I know there's very few of those people out there.
That's a weird intersect.
Yeah, it is a really weird intersection. It's funny. The R2D2 parts are really funny. I really enjoyed those books.
Yeah,
and the style.
So I have all those books, and so I'm still working on organizing my spreadsheet. And what I'm going to do is with the 3 books that are written, or that are written, that I've already started, I'm going to just put the amount of pages I have left in them in the spreadsheet. And then as I read those pages, I'm going to check them off. And then I'm going to start tackling the other 32 books, and I'm going to basically catalog how many pages I have read as I'm going through. I'm not sure yet if I'm going to, once I reach the unread books, if I'm going to start with the longest books and go longest to shortest, shortest to longest, or mix it up, because I have some things that are 3 books in one, like John Carter of Mars. It's a 3-book trilogy.
Yeah.
The Mist Reader, which I have tried to read.
The what? 3
times in my life. Also a 3-book trilogy.
What is the Mist Reader?
You know the game's Myst?
Oh, there's a book?
There's 3 books. There's 3 books all on the lore of those games, but they're written as their novelizations. So I have those. The Book of Lost Tales 1 and 2, and the Unfinished Tales, and the Silmarillion, the Lays of Beleriand, and the Children of Herne. That's going to be my little Tolkien section. I even have C.S. Lewis on there. There are some C.S. Lewis books I've never read.
Really? I figured you were the one who was like the most well-versed C.S. Lewis reader in the world.
Yes. So no.
I feel like you've read every single C.S. Lewis book.
There's his space trilogy that he wrote after the Chronicles of Narnia.
Space opera?
Yeah. Well, no. Yeah, kind of. So there's Out of the Silent Planet, Perilendra, and This Hideous Strength. Those are a trilogy of books that I've never read.
Interesting.
Out of the Silent Planet, it's about a writer who gets kidnapped by a crazy, eccentric billionaire or like rich guy, because he would be billionaire in by today's economy.
Back in C.S. Lewis' day, he was 100,000-aire.
Yeah, he built a spaceship and he kidnaps a writer and takes him into space.
I feel like that's not. I feel like it's more of something that C.S. Lewis wants to happen. It sounds it's like a dream that C.S. Lewis had, where he's like, "Man, I really wish this would happen to me.
Yeah.
I want to get abducted by a billionaire and brought to space."
I don't know anything about.
That's my dream. That'd be cool to be a writer.
Yeah.
Just get abducted by a billionaire in space. Elon Musk.
I don't know anything about.
Elon Musk.
I don't know anything.
Call me.
I don't know anything about Out of the Silent Planet, except that the spaceship is a sphere, so that it operates with the same type of gravitational pull towards the center of like a planet.
Okay.
And I know in Perilendra they go to a planet that is paradise, and like corruption has never been introduced to it. Like there's no death, there's no killing, there's nothing like that. And the only thing I know about this hideous strength is Merlin is in it.
That's another one of the space books?
Yeah, go figure. So I know nothing about these books except for those little tidbits. But that's a personal thing, and like I've posted on the Realm of Logres Instagram books as I finish them. I'll probably get one more book done this year through Audible. Not a sponsor, but you can be if you want to. That I'll get through because I like to track the books that I read / listen to.
Yeah.
Throughout the year. So hopefully you'll see all these books that I go through.
Yeah,
it's gonna be
Instagram too.
It's gonna be a lot of reading.
It's 52 weeks, 32 books. So what?
I'm really not looking forward to the
Tolkien
once every era.
2 weeks.
Yeah. Because all of the books that I have in the Tolkien books, with the exception of the Silmarillion, are all of the books that are Christopher Tolkien books that he took his dad's notes on and edited them chronologically and then put them together into stories. And Tolkien is a hard reader. J.R.R. Tolkien is a hard reader. Christopher Tolkien is harder still.
Oh no.
To read.
I don't think I've ever read much of the Silmarillion either. I only know it in reputation as what it is.
Right.
But thinking that there's a harder reader than Tolkien, J.R.
There are definitely some books on this list that I will be reading for completion, not for retention.
Mm-hmm. That's fair.
So those are my goals. Those are the things that I'm setting out to do personally throughout this next year. Unless you have anything else I want to shift, like what do you want? What happened this past year that you want to celebrate?
A lot of stuff happened this year. Over the past I want to say since June. I've been planning and executing my post-university life and how to approach that. Like applying for jobs, that kind of stuff. And I have found I've not hit the gold mine with the job yet. Out of just leaving uni, college, whatever. But I think my plan has been going pretty well.
So after uni.
Yeah. So just out of college, out of university this year, and so trying to plan for how to get a job and take care of all of the seemingly insurmountable debt that I have accrued. I mean, that might not seem like an accomplishment, but I did it. I made a plan. I've been executing the plan. I was behind for a little bit, but I've been catching up. And yeah, that's been something that I'm, proud of. It's been going well. And I look to continue obviously into 2023. But yeah, I'm willing to say that I've done a good job of trying to piece together, what to do. What is life? The beginning of the year was kind of whatever. I mean, I was just trying to get all that stuff done. But that's like the major stuff for this year. How about you?
I've had nothing major happen to me this year at all.
No, nothing at all.
No, not even remotely.
I'm not. Decided to put a green screen up behind you, and just wanted to change backgrounds every once in a while. You're actually still in the room. You're just on that side of the camera.
Yeah, I'm the opposite. Whereas like I've been, as far as planning and doing calendar stuff, which I did start doing, because I've got a lot of work at home stuff now, so it's really important to be structured when I'm working at home, so I don't waste time. This month, especially this last couple of weeks, I've been kind of laxed. Plus, I've been doing more of the dog food stuff just to kind of rebuild up my financial reserves. So I've been lax as far as the programming not programming, the scheduling of my day is concerned. However,
Itinerarying. That's a
yeah,
real
I
word.
mean,
I just invented it.
recently I have some of the two of my work at home things, though not including this one, aren't 100% lucrative yet, but they are definitely they took some huge leaps in that direction. I told you earlier off mic, but I won't go into details with it. I just landed a job which I sent an invoice for today, which I'll start work on some design things for next week. That will be a very nice chunk of change for myself, and the company that I'm contracting freelance for at the end of the year to kind of end the year off. So that's nice that came through. The Whistlekick stuff, I've got a couple different leads as far as building sponsorships with that, and my group of school owners is going well. We're about to meet for our third time this Sunday.
For martial arts schools, right?
Yeah, basically, I meet with the people, like the groups of people who run 3 other martial arts schools, and we just sit and we talk for like an hour about struggles and things that we're happy about, things that we need help with, the state of our student bodies and stuff, and we support each other, which is really cool because we're all in a unique position, and then this way we can pull from our collective knowledge, which is really cool. I moved. That's something that happened.
You did. I guess you did do that thing, huh?
Yeah, I was in a long distance relationship for a year. Highly don't suggest it or recommend being in a long distance relationship. That's why I ended it, the long distance part of it.
Wow,
and I just
wow. I'm calling Karen right now and saying, "Damn, it ended. What the hell happened?"
Yeah, no,
You might
and
change the way you word that. She might get mad and be like, "What the hell?"
No, she would probably put it that way too. So I moved. To Kansas, and things are going great. I like the direction that my life is going. Financially, it's a little shaky, but that's no reason to do anything, honestly.
Well, okay, I wouldn't go that far, but I feel
so it's not the only reason to do anything.
Yeah, I feel like that's probably the. Not that it's easier of two things to sort out, but I think like mentally and emotionally, it's the most beneficial to sort out second, because it's hard to fix a car when you're driving down the highway.
Right. And like I've said all the time
direction.
Is that we use the term, that something can quote unquote pay off, but I think the payoffs and the things that we celebrate as far as victories and wins as we look back and we get a little retrospective aren't always fiscal. I just, with 3 different conversations that I was having this past week alone with different people, I made the statement that when I was working for a certain fitness organization that will remain unnamed as a assistant manager and then a general manager for that year and 6 months, those were the best. Like, I was the best off financially that I had ever been in my life. Like, I didn't have to worry about money, let alone didn't have to, like, if I wanted something, I didn't have to think about whether or not it was wise to make a purchase. Mm-hmm. And I was the most miserable, the most stressed out, had the most anxiety and depression, mood swings ever. Mm-hmm. And the minute that I left that job, when I physically walked out on my last day, I felt relief that is indescribable. So money is not the only reason why you should do something. It is a reason. It is important. We all got to eat to live. And unfortunately, we live in a world where exchanging, I was going to say paper, but it's not even paper at this point, electronic digits for people's for people's goods is the only way that we have. But there are other things of value that bring value to your life far beyond money and far beyond material things, and I have that in spades right now. Yeah, this past year has been wild, but really good. It was March of 2021, I guess. No, January, February. No, February of 2021 was I moved back. No, it was maybe it was. It was March of 2021. I moved back to New Jersey. After 10 years, after almost 10 years of living in Florida, and then little under a year. No, a little over a year of being back in New Jersey. I moved this past October to Kansas, and I like the trajectory my life was going.
Was it October?
No, October. It was October 16th, yeah.
True, everything happens in October.
Everything happens in October. Speaking of everything happening in October, I also spent the year back in New Jersey. Obviously, one of the things that we talk about a lot, training with my instructor. Training with our instructor at the home dojo. I helped him solidify on paper, not just in his brain, but on paper, a lot of ways that our style does things. I helped him solidify a program for weapons. I got promoted. Actually, I gained
twice?
3 times, technically speaking. So I got my 5th degree black belt in karate. I got my 4th degree in jiu-jitsu right before I left.
And you got your weapons.
And I got my first in weapons. So yeah, technically speaking, I gained 3 ranks with a year of training, which is not typical, but I was there all the time.
You were, yeah. Not only were you like there all the time, but you were teaching for a lot of that too.
Yeah, I was running classes.
Very much doing a lot to contribute to the growth of the student body. Whether it was the number of students or just the actual growth of the students that already existed.
Right. So it's been a crazy and wild year.
It has been a wild year.
And a lot of stuff has happened for both of us, I think, in that year. And we have, honestly, like we talked about the things that we're looking forward to next year, but I look forward to the crazy good things that are going to happen in 2023 that we haven't even thought of yet. Like there are things that happened last year that I wasn't even planning on happening, i.e. me being where I am,
being
clearly
in Kansas,
being literally in Kansas, but also why I'm in Kansas.
Right.
You know, and being with Karen in the way that I am, which is something that I never thought I would get. She knows so much about possums, and that alone is a reason for me to be with her.
So much possum information. I know
so much possum information.
Now.
I know.
I'm excited for bad stuff about 2023. I'm pumped. I'm excited
you're pumped?
for all of the. I'm pumped.
Pumped for the adversity.
All of the dog shit things that are gonna happen in 2023. Okay, I'd say that mildly sarcastic, but also kind of serious because like the bad stuff sucks when you're in it, but then when you get past it, you realize why it's important. Not always. Sometimes when you're past it, you're like, oh, why did that happen? And I can still say that for a lot of stuff. But I want to be more open-minded towards the bad stuff. Because the stuff that's bad and hard is what makes you stronger. It makes you stronger. It makes you have to think more. It improves your skills and your abilities. And it's what makes or breaks you. And I love that challenge. Now, when I'm in my sane mind and I think that it's a good thing. When I'm in the middle of it, oh, it's terrible. But then again, being in the middle of a storm when you're a boat on the ocean sounds pretty horrid too. But then
now you can go back
and you're like, wow, that was good. Yeah. We got here.
You can go back and you can listen to this episode and listen to yourself, coach yourself.
That fucking idiot. Why did he say that he was looking forward to all this stupid shit that's happening? Yeah.
But it's the same thing that we talk about when it comes to martial arts, when it comes to fitness. Like, without the struggle, there is no growth, right? If you never put your muscles in a position to labor and to strain, they'll atrophy. I was going to say they'll remain the same. They won't.
No,
they'll atrophy.
You would have to try to make something be stagnant.
Right.
Being stagnant is an effort. That is actually something
that's crazy.
Is more profound. The more and more that I think about it, like over time, is that being stagnant requires effort. Which, in essence, what I've gleaned from it, at least in my own experience, is that it's a choice, right? You're It's something that I'm choosing, because I'm going to use myself as an example because I've witnessed it and experienced it in my own life, right? It's a choice that I've made to continue to be stagnant because of whatever reason. It was comfortable, anxiety, fear of not wanting to do whatever, depression, whatever. It was always, when I think about it, it was always a choice. And maybe for some people it's not always a choice. There's extenuating circumstances where that could be possible. But for me, I've always found that being stagnant was always an effort, and it was always a choice. And so
that's deep.
I want to try to choose differently.
Yeah.
And I have been, and I want to continue to do that.
That's awesome. And I think we all make bad choices. Make that bad choice you talk about. Like I spent during the dark times,
the dark ages.
Pre-enlightened Victor, as you say. But I spent time not putting the effort in to be stagnant, and I regressed. I remember spending 10 hours a day in bed. I would get out of bed long enough to go to work, and I got really good at putting on a face and then coming back.
Yeah.
And then I would just come back and just crawl right into bed because I had my laptop, I had my Switch, I had everything that I needed right next to my bed or in my bed.
You have enough
and I would
energy to turn your brain on, and that's what it actually requires effort and energy to be stagnant, because you have to turn your brain on, you have to go to your job, do your work, make your money so you can continue to live, and then you come back and then you turn your brain off and you say, I'm done. I'm done of that. And it's like it's crazy. It's crazy how much of an effort you have to do to like force yourself into being stagnant.
And you do all that effort for no reward.
Yeah, for no reward, because you're literally stagnant. You're not going anywhere. And it is hard to choose differently. It is. I would say it requires more effort to choose to be progressing. Right? It takes a certain amount of effort to be stagnant. It takes no effort at all to regress and go backwards. And it does take more effort to choose to make progress. And I think what the power of habits is something that we've talked about. I don't remember if it's something that's still been existing in the internet or if I deleted it because it was gone.
We're definitely going to revisit in season 2.
We will. I think that book was interesting, and I want to actually go through and read the book. But the power of habits is that it's almost like one of Newton's laws of motion. I'm a bad physicist, and I don't remember which one it is.
Object in motion stays in motion?
Okay, but there's more to it. It's an object that is in motion tends to stay in motion unless acted upon by an opposite force.
Right.
An opposing force, i.e. friction. But you have to get something into motion in order to it to continue to be in motion. And there takes some work, a literal physics word, to get it to be into motion. And so there is some work that needs to be done to keep something or to get something to be progressing. But as it progresses, progress is typically exponential, as with things with like compound interest and that kind of stuff.
And I agree with you. That moment of choice, the choice to move from stagnation, the effort of stagnation, so we talk about regression, no effort. There is a decent amount of effort, difference in the effort between regression and stagnation to maintain homeostasis.
Yes.
There's a lot of effort involved in that. And then, like we said, you get no reward.
Yeah.
But then there's an exponentially different amount of effort just to get from homeostasis, the stagnation, to forward motion.
Yeah.
But I would say
maybe I could see it being exponential.
But once you make that choice, once you start that motion, once you quit that job that is literally killing you and you walk out and you start moving towards things, there is that forward motion and you can build the momentum. Right. And then you can tend to stay in motion. Are you going to have days where you stop and you kind of sit and play Minecraft all day because you don't do anything useful, or play Marvel Snap on your phone instead of sending and writing an invoice? I'm talking to myself.
If there's any Marvel snappers in here, I just want you to know, if someone snaps on you and you are afraid that they're going to beat you, don't back down. Because it's so frustrating. I hate it. I hate it when I snap on people and they just retreat right after. Like, come on! I want to get my.
It's a card game.
Yeah, it's a card game.
It's a card game, and
if you like card games, I would try it. It's kind of fun and simple. Yeah. I was playing it a lot because I was waiting for a C++ program to compile, and I was taking a bit of.
Anyway, once you gain momentum, it's easy to continue that momentum and then to increase that momentum, and that's what I'm looking forward to next year. And hopefully, we have enough momentum to break through the barriers of the garbage that is going to come and get in our way this year. Yeah, because there will be garbage. Well, yeah, this year coming up, 2023. 2023 does have roadblocks. It does have mountains. I read this in a book once, The Wizard's First Rule. It's not Wizard's First Rule, but it's in the book Wizard's First Rule. It is a great thing. It says...
took me a second to follow that train of thought, but I'm with you.
Yeah. One of the characters in the book consistently says this, and he says it through the whole series. He's like, don't tell me what the problem is. Tell me what the solution is.
Right. Or like,
stop looking at the problem.
Where you can go from here.
Right. Stop looking at the problem and analyzing the problem and start analyzing the solution. And it's, again, a lot of those times you're looking at the same thing, but it's just a shift of perspective.
Yeah.
And it's less defeatism.
Started doing more this year is looking at, instead of saying like, this is the problem, it's like, what is the next step? What is my next step? Like taking a breath, taking a pause and saying, what is the next thing that is going to happen? Like literally what's next? Like right now, what is next? I'm going to go eat dinner after we're done with this. Like that's literally what is next. And then it just, if you can get to that point, then you start to get back into that flow. That's like kind of the thing to do when you're being interrupted with something. When you feel like your flow is being interrupted, it's like taking a pause and just saying, okay, what's the next step? Because I think part of that stagnation, whenever I've been caught in that, is it's very brainless. It's very much just like on autopilot, not thinking, not putting effort in, because there is effort, but like the effort that I put in is just so brain dead that I don't even think about it. I just do it. My body just does it, right? I just choose to keep doing the same thing over and over again. The effort is in the choice. The effort is not in what I'm actually doing. And so I think just forcing that pause to just be like, what am I doing next? That is something that in the coming year, I want to try to focus more on, because that's something that I've noticed has been very helpful.
Wow. I think we have kind of...
You know what is important?
What?
Never mind. I don't know how to do this. Whatever. I was going to say a thing, but then the more that I thought about the thing, it didn't make sense. But
well, I think on that note, we have beaten the horse.
I think that's the
it is dead. We've beaten it a little bit more. Listen, guys, pause, think about it, and in the coming year, remember to examine your life, because an unexamined life isn't worth living. And we'll see you in season 2, where we will return to being supple leopards.